Hi everyone, I'm Terri Pascarelli, MVP Realty.
I'm Rich Pascarelli with MVP Realty.
Well, we find ourselves back here in the car heading out to look for another fun spot in Naples to enjoy a morning tea and coffee.
There's a new coffee shop that opened up. I'm looking forward to giving it a try because, boy, I need my coffee.
Yes, and it looks like a beautiful sunrise this morning, so it'll be a great day. Hopefully we can sit outside. We've got more planning to do, and it's a great day to get started early. So please come along with us, and we'll let you know what we're thinking about and share some tips for home buyers in this episode as we head out for a morning coffee and tea, and we're glad you're joining us. So stay tuned. We'll be right there.
Coffee, bye.
Well, here we are. We found that cup of tea and coffee we were looking for, and we're at Narrative Coffee Roasters.
Yeah. Oh, this is a great place.
This is their new location. This is a locally owned coffee shop that we first found up at Mercado in North Naples. They have a location there, very centrally located in the middle of the outdoor shopping plaza.
Right.
And we've enjoyed a nice cup of coffee or tea up there on many occasions. And
Sure.
they have nice outdoor seating. But now here they are on Central Avenue, much closer to downtown.
Right.
And it's a wonderful location. We are maybe a half a block or a block from Baker Park, and that's right off of Central Avenue, and it's home to the Naples Dog Park.
Oh, that's a fun place. A lot of walking trails in there, and it actually, you can walk right up near the airport and you can watch all the private jets taking off.
I believe at the north end it goes up right toward the Naples Zoo.
The zoo, yes.
And then has sort of a linear path and boardwalks through the mangroves and along the river. So that's a beautiful spot. But right up at the front of the park is the dog park,
Right.
the official Naples Dog Park. And I know that they have areas for both large and small dogs. So I could imagine a number of folks with pets could stop right here at Narrative Coffee Roasters, pick up something for themselves, and enjoy a very short walk down to the park and make a morning of it. It's a great location.
This is a fun spot. Yep.
Now we're also right in front of 1111 Central, which is a new residential development
Right.
that is now in phase 3. Beautiful, beautiful luxury condominiums just off of downtown Naples. And if I remember correctly, they run shuttles to the beach
Yes, they
and
do.
over to the restaurants and
Downtown.
areas of downtown Naples. So just a few blocks off of 5th.
Right.
Overall, a really nice location.
It is. Yep.
And this is a beautiful morning to be outside.
It sure is. I would expect that some of the residents will be coming down and enjoying some of their early morning coffee here too.
Right. Well, I'm going to take a sip of this tea.
That's right. You always go for the tea. How is their tea? Because that's always a limiting.
It's delicious. I got a chai tea, and they have oat milk, which is a healthy milk substitute, which I like to have either coconut milk or something like that. So I love that they offer oat milk instead of just whole milk. They have regular milk as well, but
Is it oat milk?
oat, like oats.
Milk. Oh, okay. Never
Oat
heard
milk.
of that one.
And it doesn't change the taste of the tea, right? Which is great. You
Right.
want the real taste of the tea to come through. It's good. And how is their Colombian blend?
Their coffee is very good.
Right?
Yes.
Now, I think part of what we noticed is in this new shop, they now have their on-site roasting area. They're preparing their coffee on site Did they say every day?
They roast it right here. So talk about fresh. So
That's great.
that's really good.
So
A lot better than some of the burnt coffee you might get from
Oh.
another chain out there somewhere.
Well, it's kind of neat to shop local, and
Yeah.
I really like that Narrative Coffee Roasters is a really nice success story here locally, and really provides a great setting for us to get out and have a cup of coffee and maybe talk real estate for a few minutes as well.
Yes.
I think we wanted to share some tips today, and it's kind of funny. It's a Sunday morning, and one of the ways I've seen these tips sort of organized is almost like the 10 commandments for buying a home. So on a Sunday morning, maybe that's appropriate. I don't think we'll read them all out as a thou shalt not this or that, but there are 10 things that have been kind of compiled over time because they're pitfalls that buyers could fall into with great intentions, but they can really put themselves in jeopardy
Oh.
if they've signed a contract, whether it's resale or a new construction, but haven't closed yet. And they may do some things that, really do
Yeah.
themselves a disservice, right?
We've heard some stories that are really kind of sad to see what happens. But boy, when you're under a contract and for a house and you're going for a mortgage, you have to be so careful of what you do, because the slightest thing could throw a big roadblock in your way.
No, it's a great point. And again, I think you made the really good point. These are tips for buying a home when financing is involved, not so much for a cash purchase, but when you're working with a lender, taking out a mortgage. And as that mortgage goes through the approval process and to underwriting, they're checking on the status of the customer and the stability financially of that customer from
Right.
the time they apply for the mortgage until the closing on that home. And so throughout that whole period, these tips would apply to somebody.
Right.
And unfortunately, over time, people have sort of gotten tripped up by this. And we don't want
They
that
sure
to
have.
happen to anybody who's our customer or anybody who's watching this video. So we thought it would be a good morning as we enjoy our tea and coffee to just share
Share some stories
what
that we've
some
come
of those
across.
things are and things that people could avoid that will just keep them, proceeding smoothly through the contract.
Right.
Because contract to close is a really big part of the home buying process.
And it's a very tough time to go through, because you're excited. You're going to be closing on the house. You might be looking for furniture or maybe a new car and things like that. And those are things that you got to really be careful for.
Right. Well, let's take them from the top. From number one, if you can listen to this and realize that people have done it, and sometimes it happens because people are moving from one town to another or one state to another.
Sure.
But during that application process until you close, one of the things you don't want to do is change jobs,
Right.
in particular becoming self-employed, because
Right.
there's a whole different hurdle with regard to being able to prove your income, but you need a track record of income. So if someone even just changes their job, or heaven forbid, quits their job, and then that last check is going to be done by the lender before closing.
And they are going to check. So
And
yeah,
they do check
we've-
again
we've-
right before closing.
Where people are relocating from one state to another, well, maybe they're going to have to change jobs in doing it. But if you do that while you're in the buying process, that's going to throw up a huge flag, and it's going to affect your mortgage.
Especially right at the end where you don't have a track record of 3 or 4 months of current employment.
Right.
You don't want that switch to happen in a time frame when then the lender wants to help you, but they really can't,
They can't.
because that track record disappears.
Right.
Now, you alluded to the second one, which is, as tempting as it may be, with the excitement of the new house, you want to pull up into the driveway, maybe with a new vehicle, a truck, a boat,
A boat.
a van. Please don't do it.
Don't do it. And as a matter of fact, don't even go into the showroom, because a lot of times they are going to run a credit check on you, whether you buy it or not. And that's all that it needs. If that lender for your home sees that there's been a credit check over at Jimmy's Chevrolet, then guess what? He's going to have some questions for you that you might not be able to answer easily.
No, that's a great point. And, on the lighter side of real estate, when I've seen that one about, please don't buy a truck or a van, the tag behind that is, or you may end up living in it, right? You certainly don't want to do that.
Right.
Now,
Yep.
here's the other thing, and you kind of start to allude to credit. Several of these points are going to bring up credit-related topics. You don't want to excessively use your credit cards or let your current accounts fall behind in payment.
Right.
Because that's another part of the credit history and ongoing stability that will be checked multiple times even after somebody makes an application. So how you use your credit cards and sort of maintaining your normal purchase history
Right.
is really important through that time. We'll talk in a few minutes about some of the particular things that could tempt you to use a credit card for, more big ticket items. We'll get to
Right.
those, but just even in general,
In
don't
general.
change your patterns.
Don't open up a new credit card account. Don't close any credit card accounts. Wait until after you close on your house if you want to get the new card that's going to give you airline points.
Special
Or just
points.
wait. Don't do anything, and don't close out any accounts. Just leave everything the way you first showed it to the lender.
No, that's a really good point. Now, the other one, and I think I saw something again on a real estate post that was just heartbreaking, is please don't spend the money that you set aside for your closing. When a buyer is purchasing a home, there are closing costs. There are things that people have to sort of bring to the closing table, as
Right.
they say. Perhaps it's for prepaid taxes, or as you divvy up with the seller as of the date of closing, who owes what for homeowner association fees or any other kind of apportionment of fees through the year. Plus, you may be paying documentation stamps and recording fees or other fees
And
to
your
the
initial
lender
down payment.
and,
Your
and
whole-
your further down payment. It's not a really good time to hop on a flight and go to Vegas thinking you can do double down and
even
double
if
or
you
nothing.
think you can, you're running hot on the roulette table. Just
Please don't.
don't, because we've heard of a story where someone actually lost their down payment.
Which, right? Oh, how devastating.
Yeah, they were having a good time.
But it just wasn't their weekend.
No.
So that's not the time to do it. So don't spend the money that you set aside for closing.
Right.
The other thing is even just transparency and truthfulness. When there's an application to be filled out with the lender, you really need to be as complete as possible as the buyer. So don't omit that I have another loan off on the side, or I have another credit card that I didn't disclose
They're
yet.
going to find it.
They can do so much with technology, and they will look,
Right.
and they really want to see that you were both complete and accurate in your application. So not that that can't be overcome and resubmitted, but it just raises those flags to the lender about, well, what else is going on,
Right,
And,
right.
and you want to be as upfront and smooth, and you also just don't want to be nagged with these, I need another thing from you, I need another thing from you, and that is such a stressful process for a buyer to go through when they feel like they've submitted every document in their whole life, and
Right.
yet they're still being potentially barraged with
Right.
requests for more information, and it may trace back to how complete was that original
Right.
application.
And we've seen that when also helps to work with somebody that is experienced and knows what they're doing. So it saves you a lot of time and headache.
Oh, that's a really good one. So those are the first 5 out of the top 10, right? So the 10 commandments. We've covered 5 of them, but that means there are 5 more. We talked about the don't go buy the car. I think the other big temptation, which is number 6, especially if it's a home in a style that's new to you, or the rooms are different and you're not just bringing all of your current belongings, is please do not go out and buy furniture, or as you alluded to, don't even shop for furniture if you can help it during that process.
Right.
If you buy furniture and it affects your kind of financing ratio with the loan ratios that the lender is looking at, it could throw you over that loan ratio,
Right.
because furniture could be a big ticket item.
Sure.
And that could be the difference between having a smooth closing and having a lot more questions to answer, and possibly having a closing that doesn't go off as scheduled.
And we've seen it where people even they didn't buy the furniture. They just took out the furniture store credit card,
Oh,
and
yes.
that affected them right there. So they didn't even buy anything. So,
Right? They didn't even get the benefit of maybe that I'm just getting ready, right? I didn't get the benefit of knowing that I've got that new couch
Right.
or that new bed.
Right.
But to your point, it changed their credit score because now they had more credit open,
Right.
or in the potential of being open, and more hits against their those credit bureaus. That's it. So when
Right.
the credit bureaus have a hard hit against credit, and the lender doesn't expect it.
Right.
That could be a challenge for people.
You know what we've done, and I think it's probably a good idea.
You can put a freeze on your credit.
So someone cannot go and do a credit check on you without you unfreezing those accounts. So if you walk into a car dealer or a furniture store or something like that, a lot of times they'll check your credit without you even knowing it. So if there is a freeze, they can't do anything about it. They can't see it.
And you have the opportunity to temporarily lift the freeze. So
Right.
if on purpose and with the knowledge of your lender, you're doing something, or even just outside of this whole contract to close process, from a identity theft perspective, it's
Right.
great to have your credit frozen. Can limit some bad things from happening. But during this process, it's great that you have to actively, temporarily remove the freeze and then put it back
Right.
after the person that you are aware of is doing the credit check.
Right.
And so you can tell them whether it's a day or a week or 2 weeks that you want your credit unfrozen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually a fairly simple process online. Or a couple of good phone calls with those credit bureaus. But what a great tip, in addition to the 10 commandments of home buying, is
Right.
maybe consider keeping a freeze on those credit bureaus and protect your credit score.
Right.
That's a really good one. Now, around that, number 7 is don't originate new inquiries into your credlet. So I
Right.
think we've kind of covered that one off
we've
very
beaten
well.
that one down.
Yeah, I think so. And then here's another one, and people might think this is sort of, well, how could this be bad? Number 8 on the list is don't make large deposits into your financial accounts.
Right.
Money just drops in from we don't know where.
They want to. The banks want to know, where did that come from? What are you? Where do you have another form of income, or what are you doing?
Right. And so, yeah, it's coming in. What's going to be going out? Why is something, again, unusual and out of your normal pattern happening? So you really want to keep your loan officer informed and really try not to have new and unexpected things, even in a seemingly positive way, be
Right.
deposited into your account. So that would be a tricky one. Number 9, when we're talking about banks, you may bank with whoever the local, favorite bank is. Don't change banks.
No.
Try real hard not to change banks.
Like changing a job, if you're moving to a new area, don't change banks in the middle of the process. So you're gonna be causing some inquiry as to what's going on. So
Right. And if you're moving from state to state and there's a reason to be changing banks, I think the big message there is transparency.
Right.
Talking to your loan officer, letting them know what you have in mind,
Right.
why you need to be making, certain adjustments,
Right.
is something that they can help you work through, and they may guide you on the timing.
Right.
And they can also make notes in your file. And again, no surprises. I think the big
Exactly.
part there is no surprises.
no surprise.
Now, the 10th one is a little bit different, and one that, again, may be seemingly very innocent and helpful to someone else, but don't do it. Don't co-sign a loan,
Oh,
even
my
though it's
goodness.
not your loan. Your mom needs to do something, your dad
Right.
needs, your sister, your brother, your best friend.
Right.
Do not co-sign the loan.
Right.
And have that reflect back on your credit.
Right.
And oops, you have a big problem with your mortgage lender.
Some of these just seem to be obvious not to do, but it's when you're in the process and you're busy, sometimes you're just not thinking about something like that, about looking for furniture, about having to buy a new car, or your son needs a new car and you're just going to
Right.
co-sign. You got to be really careful with this stuff. But unfortunately, some of these stories, these like 10 commandments came up for a reason, because people lost their mortgage because they couldn't,
Right, or
they,
had
they
a
couldn't close.
significant delay, or just
Right.
all kinds of stress or issues. And you're right. I think the other thing, to your point, is that life goes on, and you've applied for a mortgage, and sometimes it takes time. Imagine people even building a home. It could be 8, 9, 10 months
Right.
from the time of their original loan application to when they're getting ready to close. So it's not, well, I'll just hold off for 2 or 3 weeks, close on the house, and I'm done.
Right.
It could be a protracted period of time for whatever reason. Your negotiated close date with the seller, waiting
Right.
for new construction, whatever it might be, and life does go on. And so these are just some tips we hope are helpful. I think the bonus tip is also, and you may have alluded to this, don't pay down debt in an unexplained way.
Don't close out a credit card or a
Right.
credit account.
You would think, again, well, that sounds great, I should do that. Please don't do it. I
Don't.
think the message in these that we've heard from lenders is, again, the consistency and the stability of what a buyer is doing
Right.
is some of what their underwriting team is looking for.
And once they tell you, okay, you are approved for the loan, you're good to go, everything is fine, that doesn't mean they stop checking on finding out what's going on. And they're going to check a couple of days before closing and make sure that things are still the same. They're still going to check back with your employer. They're still going to look at your banks. They're going to look at your credit. So they're going to go back, even though they said you were approved 6 months ago, they're going to check 6 days before your
maybe June.
closing. Yeah.
So we hope that these tips on a Sunday morning, as we're out for coffee and tea, kind of give you a heads up on the 10 commandments of buying a home if you're financing,
Right.
and that you found some of these tips helpful for you or for those that may rely on you for advice as well. I know one of the things I tend to do when we come out for coffee is I tend to get a little bit of a snack for later, and this is looking really tempting, and I thought maybe I'll just show on camera one of the tasty treats here at Narrative Coffee Roasters.
Yep.
I'll tip
What
it
did
this way.
What did they call that?
This is a guava pastry.
Guava pastry.
Guava. So it's
Okay.
like a croissant type of a pastry, but rather than a traditional filling, what seems obvious, in some places it's not apple, it's not cherry, it's guava. Now they had some beautiful blueberry scones in
Oh, yeah,
there,
they had all kinds
and a raspberry and cheese pastry
Yes.
that looked really good. So depending on what your appetites are, there's some nice treats to go along with that tea or coffee when you come to Narrative Coffee Roasters. And I guess it's time for us to kind of kick back on Sunday morning and enjoy ours.
Enjoy our coffee and our guava thing and
Guava pastry.
And pastry.
It looks good.
Yep.
We'll share it, and then we'll get back home and get to work. We have customers coming in. It's a busy week, and we look forward to sharing more of Southwest Florida on a one-on-one basis with you when you're thinking about moving from community to community or moving into town in the Southwest Florida area. And in the meantime, enjoy this beautiful morning in Naples with us. Thanks for stopping by. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode that we post here on the channel. And if you found some information here that's helpful to you, it'd be great if you would give this a thumbs up. We appreciate it. And consider subscribing and turning on notifications if you have not already. It's free to subscribe to our channel. It has no obligation to you, but you will know in advance when we're posting things. You'll be one of the first to know with the notifications turned on that a new episode has posted to the channel. As we have tips, as we're traveling around Southwest Florida, we're really happy to share that with you. But thanks for joining us today, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Bye now.
And before you go, check out the video in the upper right, and I'll see you over there.